my horizontal hive. I have all of the frames set up, and I'm glad that I'm kind of thinking through the logistics of it first because, oops, I was under the impression that I could potentially, this is one of the frames, here we go. Yeah, this is one of the frames from my hives, so you can kind of see the size of it, and I thought I would be able to cut out the comb and put it in here. As you can see, it's not the same size, and I was watching some YouTube videos, and other people who have done this basically like take a frame of brood out of the hive, and one guy just took out a circular saw and started cutting the edges off. I'm not going to be doing that, so I'm going to be going in the hives to see which one is a good candidate, where I'm going to move the queen over, I'm going to cut out some brood, and I have another frame ready where I'm going to wire the brood in so that they'll be set up in there. I'm also going to do that with a few frames of honey nectar that are coming in right now, so that way they'll have food in here. And I also have a frame of drawn out comb that I'll be putting into another frame to allow space for the queen to lay, and hopefully the brood that I'm putting in with her will be like mixed brood. I'm hoping to find a frame that has both little babies and eggs, but also capped brood, so that we'll have some workers emerging that can go out and forage for her while we wait for her eggs to hatch in a few weeks. And Cleo is being super loud, apologies. But this is the update so far. I am about to go try to gather cinder blocks from around the yard to make a stand for it, and I'm hoping that I have enough of those so that I can keep moving forward. Voila, I've got an old frame of comb cut in here. It's kind of precariously wired in right now, but I imagine once the bees get in, they can take care of things. So now I just did this without wearing gloves and with no bees on it, and now I have to do this for 3 different frames with bees, baby bees, and honey in the comb. So wish me luck. I found the queen. It didn't take too long to find her, so that's really good. And I also already set aside a few frames of brood and a few solid frames of honey, so now I have what I need. I noticed these workers that they're doing what's called trophallaxis, so they're sharing some resources. Got the queen and her girls set up in their new home. A few things to share before I take you in the Layens hive. Moving the brood from my Langstroth hives and the queen and everything over was not very easy. It was very messy. I was glad I got it all done in an afternoon. I also decided to move my very best queen over. I noticed that she had started to build some swarm cells, and it was time to split them. They were just so big. But I didn't get to move as many brood frames over as I'd like. The other problem that I had was that all of the honey frames that I cut to rewire into the Layens completely fell into mush, and like all of the honey was falling out. And afterwards I was chatting with my beekeeping mentor, and he reminded me that like the way that the bees design their honeycomb is that it's on a slight angle so that the honey doesn't fall out. And being that I'm changing the orientation of the comb to fit into a longer frame, it's basically like you're taking it and like turning it so that it's going to be pouring all the honey out. So it was just a bad idea from the start, but I just didn't think it through in that way. So that was a mess. Didn't get enough brood over there. In the process of cutting all the comb and moving the bees over, more than half of the bees that I wanted to move over, I wasn't able to seal them up in the hive, so she didn't have that many workers with her. The first few days they were out there, the forecast was amazing, and it was in the 80s and sunny, and everything is starting to bloom, so I thought it was really setting them up for success. However, we had 2 or 3 nights in the 30s, and I thought, being the way that this Layens hive is constructed, that it would be a lot more insulated, that there wouldn't be much to worry about. But as we go in there, so that you'll see, it's unfortunately no one has survived. and it's really sad because I was taking a gamble. I really thought I was kind of doing all the right things at the right time of the year. So right now it is vacant, and I'll show you what it looks like currently. Our meaties are neighbors to the new hive setup here, but they have no neighbors in the hive right now. This is the frame that I had wired the comb into, and I also had wired the brood comb into. So the idea was that they would have been able to kind of extend a little bridge and make a nice, great frame for them to use as a foundation to build out the colony. And then I already cleaned out all the dead bees from the bottom because that's where they fell. I had a few frames with like a half of foundation put in, and with the heat they just kind of warped and fell out even though I had pressed them into the wire. So I've decided I'm only leaving the full sheets of foundation in here, and I'm going to put everything else in the freezer for now, just to get it cleaned up before getting the full foundation in. And I'm going to turn this into a swarm trap just for the time being. I'm not going to do the same thing that I've done just before, where, one thing that I did do, being that the honey frames were a fail and moving over, here's like a piece of the honey frame that just fell out after I tried to wire it. I'm going to actually put this in the freezer and then just maybe put it inside one of the other hives for the other colonies to enjoy, but yuck. But for now, I didn't have a feeder that was compatible with the Layens, but I ordered it and that has arrived. So now if I do want to set up bees in here, I don't have to be as concerned with trying to finagle honeycomb into these frames. I can actually just use a feeder. Although I feel really bad, I feel like now I'm in a better place for the next attempt, whenever that will be. This is the swarm lure kit that I ordered with the feeder. Not that they are used together, it's just that I happened to order both. So there's a lemongrass oil in here, which I already have lemongrass oil, but this came with it, and it was, I think, only $11. So based on the instructions, you're supposed to fill 2 of these tubes up, and the nice thing, it comes with a tiny pipette, so it makes it easy to get the oil in there. So basically, I think when I was reading this before, yeah, it says to half fill 2 tubes and then put inside the trap. So I am going to turn the Layens hive into a swarm trap. Quick update. The nice thing is that it says to put it just above the entrance. Indiana, relax. And that these tubes hold the smell for 6 or more months, which is nice because the Swarm Commander that I have always used, I have to like spritz the hive or put some drops in depending on if you have a spray or the drops every week or so at this time of the year to keep the smell fresh. So I'm hoping this will be lower maintenance and maybe the smell is stronger since it lasts so long. So perhaps it'll attract some bees. Yeah, $11, there it is. This is the little lure holder, and this is the lemongrass they supplied. So this came with probably like 8 or 9 of these little holders. The oil and this pipette is $11. Pretty good deal, I say. And just filling this up, and you can kind of get the excess back in there. What I did last time was I just, in the kitchen sink, just, filled this up, the pipette up a few times with water and just rinse it out and let it air dry. So you just close this up. I'm not sure how it's able to emit the aroma. Maybe there's some holes in the top, I'm not sure, but you place this just above the entrance, and that's supposed to slowly release the lure for a future swarm. So pretty simple. Closing out with Cleo, and this actually may be her very last video. Unfortunately, Cleo, I had taken her to the vet for the first time in her life last week. She just turned 25 years old a few days ago, and I've had her since she was 6 weeks old. Stop eating my earring. and she has a little sore on the base of her tail, and it hasn't been clearing up in a few weeks, and it turns out it's some type of cancer, and the vet said he doesn't expect her to live another month. So she acts totally normal, you know, very playful and loud, and great appetite, and just curious about everything. But you know, with animals, they like to hide their symptoms because it's their instinct to, you know, protect themselves and not show their weaknesses. And birds are, you know, they really don't show any signs until they're really close to the end. So so she has her date scheduled next week, and we want to make sure she goes out without any suffering, and, you know, not getting weak and uncomfortable and any pain and everything. So so yeah, this is Cleo. So she's gonna say goodbye, and she thanks you also for following along. She's always in the background, literally and figuratively. And yeah, and so hopefully that was her way of saying goodbye. She's very busy, you know, as you can see, tending to that that little wound on her tail. So in any case, thank you so much, and I will share more next time.